Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a broken game. Not technologically, on that front it's flawless. But, I mean, the story is broken. Not to say that it's inconsistent, it's that, alright, new sentence. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a game about brokenness. On the surface level, brokenness is represented by the shattering of dimensions, as all kinds of cosmological chaos collapses into the battlefields around you, in a shattering of realities. Being broken is right there in the title, Rift Apart, which is a play on words of ripped apart and nothing else. Yet, brokenness is most present in the characters of Ratchet & Clank. For example, Ratchet has been separated from his family for the entire franchise, and ponders reconnecting with them in Rift Apart. Yet, he's scared that he won't fit in anymore with the rest of the Lombaxes, because he's already been broken off from his people for so long. Clank is less emotionally broken and more physically, as he spends most of the game missing his mechanical appendages. Unfortunately, Clank doesn't really have an interesting arc in this game, and of the four protagonists, he's my least favourite. Then there are the literal, palette-swapped alternate selves of Ratchet & Clank. Rivet exemplifies this trope physically and emotionally. When we first meet Rivet, her right arm is missing and has been replaced with a prosthetic one, but she's more interesting on a psychological level. Rivet is anti-robot, or organicist as I like to call it. I suppose living in a reality ruled by robots where organic life is treated as a second-class species would definitely fester into hatred for all autonomous life. Rivet's primary arc revolves around her learning to work with others again, but also it's a shattering of the lie she told herself that all robots are thoughtless slaves built to inflict harm on living people. Finally, Kit thinks she's a broken creation because her purpose is to kill. She thinks of herself as a warbot. She's emotionally damaged from almost killing someone and believes herself incapable of forgiveness. The wonderful thing about all this brokenness is that every character can repair themselves throughout the game. Ratchet and Rivet can use the tools around them in the form of Clank and Kit to fix themselves and repair the fractured multiverse. Rift Apart's core message to its players appears to be that no matter how insurmountable the problem may seem, everything is fixable with enough time, care, and most importantly, support. I love how a game with a Pixarian art style and general air of levity to its tone can engage its audience with darker, more somber themes. It gives these characters a sense of complexity that's miles ahead of the rest of the platforming genre. I've recently become enamored with alternate selves of pre-existing characters, thanks to seeing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness prior to the time of writing. I enjoy both versions of characters that are slight versions of their other selves, and the dramatic changes into unrecognizable characters. Rivet and Kit are mostly the former, which is a bit disappointing. After seeing Skid and Rusty Pete, I would have loved to see a massive reinterpretation of the duo, but I suppose if we're going to be playing as them, they have to be likable, and you don't get much more endearing than Ratchet and Clank. I actually think I prefer Rivet to Ratchet. She's got a more compelling background story and a visually appealing design. While I have all the respect in the world for James Arnold Taylor, he is my Obi-Wan Kenobi and you cannot change my mind, Jennifer Hale is one of the top 10 working voice actors in any industry. Commonly typecast as the gruff, badass female fighter type, Hale effortlessly steps into the polar opposite of a bright, high-energy performance of a cute, badass female fighter type. I'm still amazed at how high and bubbly her voice can go at age 50. It is easily the best video game performance of 2021, and it's not even close. Yet she wasn't even nominated at the Game Awards. That is a genuine snub. Rift Apart is my first Ratchet & Clank game with Dr. Nefarious as a villain, so both versions of the character will be first impressions to me. Starting with the main universe's Nefarious, I've never been a fan of the over-the-top bad guy, always exclaiming his plans and swearing that he would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling do-gooders. He's not threatening at all, and just kinda cringy, especially when the villain relies on an army of henchmen rather than their own power. However, Kefka from Final Fantasy VI is also an example of this, and he's terrifying. so I guess I'm not a fan of it unless the villain has the power to back up what they're saying. This is where Emperor Nefarious comes in, the Ultron to Dr. Nefarious's Whiplash. The Emperor is a malicious, imposing character who commands multiversal fear. He has such a soulless, imposing design. On top of that, he's a fascinating breakdown of the invincible villain. He's someone who's never known defeat, and as such, he's grown bored. So when a new challenge presents itself, he leaps at the opportunity to seize and conquer it. But because this character has never known the feeling of loss, when he's at last united with the all-too-unappealing concept, his mechanical mind starts to break down as he swears to destroy all reality because he no longer cares about his original goals, due to his mind being tainted by a negative concept he's never felt before. It's like if you'd only ever eaten soft-serve vanilla ice cream for your entire life, and then you take the one-chip challenge. It would be such a foreign yet reprehensible sensation that you might lose all sense of self. Nevertheless, Emperor Nefarious is able to balance imposing and psychotic with such twisted perfection, and I need to especially shout out another voice acting titan, Robin Atkin-Downes. While I absolutely adore the themes and characters, the narrative itself leaves me a bit cold. It feels more like an excuse to make Ratchet and Rivet go to the levels, rather than an organic story. It just feels so video gamey, very by the numbers if you know what I mean. So, for example, we go to a mining planet to get a crystal, okay, simple enough. Then we go to a quarry planet to fix the crystal. It deliberately feels like an excuse just so that this level can happen. It's a great level, no doubt. Still, it definitely feels like you're sacrificing a natural flowing story instead of finding a way to harmonize it with the gameplay. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a game about what it means to be a broken person on a physical, emotional, and mental level. The game's theme is one of healing yourself, or fixing yourself for a better in-universe objective. It's a game aimed at children that's not afraid to confront their audience with dark moments. With a star-studded cast of voice-acting titans, it becomes even more clear that Sony puts story high up on its priority list, even though Ratchet & Clank games are more driven by their gameplay, once again proving themselves the top dog for interactive storytelling.